Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Here we are continuing to work on this Spider-Gwen piece that I have here, and just looking at what I got. So far I got nothing but the sketched out characters. I still have a lot more work to do on both of these characters. I still have to tighten up the pencils, but I'm pretty happy with what I have here because I'm able to reserve this space here. I'm able to have this much space here, a good decent amount of space at the top, and also here at the bottom that I can play with. And I'm really happy with how that came out because composition is super important, and I'm able to put both of these characters almost dead center in dead center of the piece here. And I'm really happy that I was able to do that because I got critiques and feedback from other pieces that I've drawn, where I'd have like part of the drawing cut off, or I have like a sort of a short frame, and you really couldn't see what was happening in the drawing, so they would I would be told to to zoom out so you can see exactly what's going on in the drawing, and not leave it up to interpretation. Let's just leave it there and draw everything, make sure you can see exactly the full figure, and know exactly what's going on in the piece. So that is what I was aiming for here, and I'm glad that I was able to put both of these pieces exactly how I wanted them. And that's the consequence of using these thumbnails. And as you can see, I did this thumbnail of this drawing before I even started. This is a sketch for something else that I'll tell you guys about later. But yeah, I use this to help me get an idea of what to do. And if we take a closer look at this, we can see that the animated Gwen here is a little bit further down, and then this other Gwen is bigger on the page. But here I was able to execute it just to the way I like it, and I was able to put both characters on the page almost exactly in the middle, which is great for me. So now what I'm going to do is start working on this animated Gwen. I'm just going to tighten the pencils, make it a little bit more refined, and you're probably asking yourself, how is it that I got this pose? How do I get this? It's very simple. I found this image on the internet, and this is the pose that I liked for this character. So I'm going to use this pose, and I'm going to try to my best to copy the exact same thing, or as close to it as I can right here. So normally when I start drawing, I'll just have this right next to me as I'm drawing this out, and I'll take a look at it and go back and forth and see what it is, and so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get started and see what I can get finished right now. Get rid of that message there. Actually, let me put this to the side. But yeah, I use that as a good reference. References are very important, and I always use them, and I highly recommend using them because you don't know how everything looks. So having this reference right next to you is always a big relief. And I'm going to start by defining these lines a little bit better. Just making sure I have this underdrawing done, including the shapes of the head, the body, and any big areas of the character itself, which in this case includes the hood. And so I like to have well-defined lines, and you're going to see that I'm going to erase, like right now. I have to erase a lot of the looser lines that I did with the sketch, and just continue defining the lines that I'm going to be inking later on. And I use this tool right here. That's like it's an eraser. It's a finer eraser to help me get into the smaller nooks and crannies of the lines and where they meet, and it helps me to get a lot more accurate with my lines. And yeah, so I start fine tuning and tightening up these lines, and and yes, and here, for example, you can see um, how I'm going to start doing this eye. And some of these things that I do here are just muscle memory, I guess you can call it, for artists, where they're just natural motions and movements that you make with the pencil, because you've been doing drawings for a certain amount of time. And Spider-Man is probably the number one character that I've drawn the most, and so drawing his eyes, his webs, and things like that almost comes second nature. So I'm able to like know about just about almost know exactly how I like to draw the eyes, and the curvature that I like on them to make them look as I like it. Because some people have their preferences with them, but I like the big eyes And so yeah, I'm over here working with this and trying to get this defined, trying to get it to look as much as I can to what I see here in this image. And yes, just in case anybody's wondering, I've recorded this drawing session, and I'm recording voice recording over this. So you'll hear me cut in every now and then, as I guess you can say like director's commentary as I'm getting this drawing done. The same thing with the actual video. This was done in two 30-minute segments. It's the same day. I just had a few interruptions, so I had to stop recording, and then I picked it right back up. So this is all done in the same day, and yeah. So I just want to apologize if there's any like weird things going on from as the camera as the audio. I'm sorry, as the video goes from one video to the next. Hopefully I make that transition smooth so where you don't notice it too much. It's the only way I'm able to record these videos because during the test runs I noticed that there was a lot of noise in the background, and so I'm trying to minimize the noise in the background so you can at least hear what I'm saying and not get too distracted from the drawing, but because of the outside noise. And so thank you very much for coming and for checking out the channel. I've been trying my best to get this done a while back. I've had interest in trying to show you my process, and I wasn't able to set up the camera how I liked it, but I'm able to do it now, and I'm really excited to be able to walk you through my process as I get these drawings done. And yeah, hopefully we can get more videos done after this one. But yes, and here you're gonna see, for example, how I move the paper a lot, because there's a specific way that I move my hand. I have specific hand strokes that when I'm trying to draw a line in a different direction, I'd rather just move it to where it's more comfortable, so I can just swing my wrist along the curve that I need, instead of having to force myself to draw a line in a direction where I know it won't come out as smoothly as it should. And so I move the paper around a lot. You'll see that as I'm getting these pencils tightened, and I made a conscious decision of moving the paper around because as I'm drawing this with the pencil, it's also a way to practice the strokes for when I start inking. When I do the inks on this piece, on any piece, I have to be confident with the stroke that I'm going to use on a specific line or curve, and so I have to practice that. It doesn't just come magically. Something that I have to work with, and it's going back to that muscle memory thing for artists, where you have a specific position where you're more comfortable with, and you're able to execute curves better from a certain angle. I used to feel bad about doing that before, but then I remember I saw a video of Scott Williams as he was inking, and he does the same thing. Like I noticed that he moves the paper around a lot, and yeah, I mean, I rather go with what's comfortable, whatever helps me execute the line best, and not try to force myself to do something that won't come naturally. And so yeah, you'll see me turn the paper a lot, and it's also practice for when I start the inks, which will come up in the next video. After I get these pencils done, you'll see how it is that I do the line art, and how it is that I do the rendering on this piece. Yeah, I'm going back and forth with this eye because it's not exactly how I like it. I don't want it to look too ovalish, I guess you can say, like too oval or too round. It doesn't have to look like a circle, nor like an oval. So I'm trying to like my best to shape it how the eye should look, considering the angle, considering where I want this Spider-Gwen to look, and yeah, so I'm gonna play with this a lot and try until I get it right, until I get it to where I'm happy with it. And yeah, that means going back and forth a lot over these lines just to make sure I have it just the way that I like it. And I always have to compare what I have on the page with what I see in the image in this case, and make sure that it lines up just the way that I want. If I didn't have this reference, if I was working with this just from memory, then what I would do is just grab the page, hold it out, step back, take a take a look at the entire page and see if it hits right, if it looks how I like it, and then if I'm satisfied with it, then I continue working with on it, and yeah, that's normally what I would do. Um, You draw it just because you draw it initially one way doesn't mean that it has to stick that way. You can always go back and make adjustments. Maybe you can move this, move the other. I remember when I was younger, I would hate doing that because it means like having to go back and work on this one particular thing over and over again, and it would be very annoying. But now I don't care. Now, like if I see something and and if it's not the way that I like it, then yeah, I'll erase everything and then go back. And yeah, as you can see, I'm trying to execute many different lines on this one eye, just so I know that it's where I like it. Maybe I'm curving it too much, or maybe the line is too far up or too far down, and so I move and I erase. And yeah, I have no problems with going back over this again and again and again until I get it right. The only problem after that is, like, for example, if you're going over a line one too many times, it'll tend to wear off on the paper, or at least on the paper that I'm working with, and that's annoying. That's another problem. But yeah, I mean, here for example, I'm not happy with what this is, with how this looks, and so I'm gonna step back, take a look at it further back, compare it to the image, and see how it works, and yeah, just make sure that I get it just right. Yeah, it looks horrible. I'm gonna go ahead and erase that. And just start all over again. Start all over from that bottom part again, and make sure I have the head defined. As you can see, I'm pulling the head line back a little bit. I'm thinking that maybe the shape of the head that I originally had is not exactly how it needs to be or how I would like it, so I'm moving it back a little bit. And by me moving it back, I'm also able to adjust the eye, and yeah, you can see here, for example, how I'm playing with this, and it's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until I get it to where I like it. This happens a lot to me. I I draw something initially how I envision it, and I don't like it, then I go back and I play with it and I play with it and I play with it until I get it to where I think is acceptable. Especially when I'm working on faces and hands. Um, those two things are incredibly important for any piece because those are the first things that someone would look at is the hands and the face, and because it exudes more emotion, it gives more emotion, it resonates more. Like you can see the happiness, you can see the sadness, you can see what the action, the dynamic, the grit. You can see everything emitting from the face and the hand. So, doing a hand gesture just right, doing a facial expression just right, can sell the artwork, can sell the art a lot more. So, I go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth on those areas to make sure I have it right because there's a certain feel that I want to emit with the piece, and if I don't get it just right, then the message is lost in translation, and it's not what I wanted. It's not, and I'm not happy with it. I'm not content with it, and then I consider it a dud. So I try not to have any duds in that sense, and I want to make sure that every drawing that I do uh, is exactly how I had visioned it, and I'm really happy with what I've been able to do recently because thanks to the practice and the constant drawing for the last 2 years, I've been able to execute almost everything tit for tit to what I had in my mind. Like if I have this image and I'm able to execute it, and that's a big plus for me because now I'm able to think of other things, and then I'm getting the call. But yeah, I'm able to think of other things, and execute them just as I had thought it. And so yeah, when my daughter came to me, she said I wanted and she told me she wanted to have this piece done. I was like, okay, I want to have something a little bit dynamic, something in action. And I took a look at the picture that I saw on the internet, and I liked it. And I was thinking, how can I complement this with the Spider-Gwen? So I was thinking the poses, and the pose that's another call again. Must be important, or it must be one of those telemarketer calls, probably. um, but um, but uh, but yeah. So I'm able to think of other things as since knowing that I have this ability, or that I have a better ability of executing images as I picture them. I'm able to get a little bit more crazier with the images, the designs of things that I want to execute, and I'm happy that I've been able to execute everything so far as I like it. So I think this isn't going to be an exception. I think this is going to be another piece where I'm able to execute what I like, and I'm able to tell that from the beginning by the way I set the poses up, set the composition from the very beginning, and yeah, here I drew the center line on the body, and I noticed in the picture that the center line is a little bit more exaggerated to one side, so I'm erasing it and doing the center line over again. And so the center line here is a little bit better, and yes, it's important to get the center line right because it helps you place other things like the design elements of the costume. It allows you to place things just right, and it gives you that feeling that the body is twisted, the body is turned, and so here I'm able to the center line, it guides me a lot to what I have to draw, and so here I'm taking the symbol off of on the chest, which is like a cartoony spider here, so I'm able to do that. Yeah. And I'm not going to get too crazy with the details on this. I'm not going to like detail everything. I'm just trying to place the big parts of the costume on these two characters. Because first, what I want to do is put this ink over these lines, and then I'm going to go back as I'm inking. I'm going to go back and fill in the details on some of the smaller things, like some things like webbing and things like that. I'm not going to pencil in webbing because I'll do that during the inking stage, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when we get to that. That's why it's important to get this figure drawn as closely as perfect, or as closely as how you like it first. So then that way, the elements of the costume, you can just place them on with much more ease later on. Sorry, the image is going further down. And so yes, I'm gonna just draw the foot here and try to capture some of the basic elements. Like for example, here the Spider-Gwen has these pink webs. I don't think I'm going to draw the webbing for this like that. I'll probably well, in this case, for example, I know that I'm going to color this piece, so I know that I can leave that out, and then I can go back over it with when I do the colors. So I'm going to leave that out. See, I drew that line there for the leg, but I noticed that it might just look better without that line there, so I'm taking that line off. I might add it back on, but for the moment, I'm just gonna leave it off. See what it looks like, because you can tell that the leg is bending. Well, at least I can. I don't know. Maybe you can't tell that the leg is bending. If that's the case, please leave a comment. Let me know. and yes, I don't claim to have the truth on any of this that I'm about art. I'm a student myself. There's a lot more that I have to learn. The idea with this video and with all the other videos that I plan on putting out, it's just to show you what my process is and how I get these things done. And why is it that I want to do this? I've noticed as I've seen other people draw that there's always this innate curiosity of how do they do it? You know, how do they do this? How do they do that? Even if the artist isn't a pro, like even if it's an artist that's not that renowned or that popular, I mean, how do they do this one thing or how do they do that other thing? And so I thought it was I thought it would be curious because I'm curious. I thought it'd be curious to see how they do everything, every little thing on the drawing. And so normally when you see videos of the major artists, you see them like just general broad strokes, but you don't see them get deep into the detail, and you don't see how they execute that one drawing or that one part of the drawing. Where you're like, how did they do that? Like I know how they did the head, I know how they did this arm, but how did they do this other part? So that curiosity is what led me to wanting to do this. That and also I would like for people to see my process. If you have any critiques, if you see, man, this is not how you do this, or this is not how you should do that part, or this part here, Elliot is like completely destroying, please let me know, because that's another thing that I'm looking to do with the video is to not only show the audience my process, but also show them my flaws, to a certain extent. Show them my flaws, show them what I do wrong and what I could improve on. And so if you see something they're like, no, man, that's not how you do that, I think you made a big mistake here, then please let me know, because I take all that information, all that knowledge, and I apply it. If I see that it's something that helps me, then yeah, I'm gonna definitely apply any knowledge that you guys might have about art. So I don't hold the truth. I don't have the truth for art. I just try to understand it, decipher it, study it as best as I can, and I'm trying to bring you the knowledge that I have gained the last 2 years in these videos. So, and this is how I execute some of these things. So, yeah. If there's something else also that, like, if you have a question about, like, if you saw that if you see that there's something that I did once or something like in a drawing, like, oh, hey, how did you do this? Then I have no problem like making separate videos and answering your questions also. So, like, how do you draw a head like this, or how do you draw the arm like that? How did you do this one effect? I'll be more than happy to show you how I do it. In the case you have any of those questions. And so here I'm pretty much done with this. These are pretty much the main points to this character. You can see that I did the biggest parts of the costume, the white area, the dark blue area, and the bottom part of the shoe, the hood, and here I'm finishing up with this hand. And yeah, I think about to call it for this animated Gwen here, because I think that's pretty much all I need to do. I think that's pretty much it. As I was saying, like anything else, like for example here, this web thingy on the web slits on the side of her costume, I'm not going to do that. Or look at the image, the web thing is transparent, so I mean, I'm not going to mess with that. I'll just leave it as it is. As I was saying earlier, I'm not the master of the arts. I just do what I can with what I know I can do, so I'm just going to leave that out right now. And yeah, just finalize the pencils here, and I think I'm done. And now it's time to get this Gwen done. And so right off the bat, I know that there's one part here that I was struggling with is this arm and getting this angle just right. I know that I want to give this angle here because I want her to shoot some web, I think, or at least pose in that direction. So I want to make sure I get the hand right. And before I even like started with any of these videos, I was suffering a lot with this hand. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go back a lot with making sure that I get this hand just right. I mean, after the animated Gwen's eye, I think this is like the next part that was something that I really struggled with. So I'm gonna make sure that I get this just right, and I get the angle right for. I get the pose on the hand just right, considering the angle of how I want her arm to go. And so I'm gonna play a lot here with the arms, with the hands here. Right now, for example, I'm just going off my gut, what I think, how the hand might go. Is because the hand is not facing you 100 like perfectly in one direction or in the other, like 3/4 upwards, I guess you can say. I don't know how you would describe that, but it's not exactly. It's not. There's not a clear cut view of this, so it's like an interpretation from an angle. So I'm trying my best to interpret it as I imagine that it would be. It'd be great if I had a reference, but I haven't been able to find anything online. There's a bunch of Spider-Man hand webbing pics, but I haven't found anyone that it is exactly at this angle that I'm trying to draw. If you find anything, please, it'd be great if you could share that with us, so we can all take a look at that. But yeah, there's no reference that I have been able to find for that. So I'm just going to continue playing with this until I'm able to get it just the way that I like it. And right now, I'm continuing to go off on just like what I think this would look like. Um, but yeah, see, it's going to come to a point where I have to just take a look at my own hand and get a better view. Just get another reference shot, I guess you can say. Yeah, here I go, looking at my hand. It's just better to use that sometimes, but yeah, after looking at references and when I stumble upon these moments where I don't know exactly what to do, yeah, I look at a reference or I look at my hand or whatever it may be, and I notice that there's like this line that would help sell the effect or the image more than anything else. And in this case, I found that line, this connection that as the index finger connects to the middle finger, there's a line um, that joins them that sells the shot a whole lot better. And so here I'm just gonna try to continue messing with it and at least get the other parts of the hand in. So I'm working on the thumb. Um, I have a pretty good idea how this is supposed to go according to my own hand reference, and yeah, it's coming out um pretty good. I don't think I'm gonna mess with this much more, but I think once I get this done, that'll be it. And well, yeah, but until I do the inks, everything is going to depend on the interpretation. And what I mean by that is like, I want to. I mean, I could put this to the side. I'll come back to it maybe tomorrow later on, or I'll take a picture of it and look at it throughout the day, or look back at it and if I see something, no, if it gives if it conveys what I'm trying to convey by looking at it or glancing at it after a while, then I have done the job that I look to do. But if I'm looking at it and certain areas of the artwork are giving me doubts, then yeah, I'm not happy with it, and then I'll tend to go back. But but yeah, I think this is pretty good, and I've been playing with this for quite a while. Going back and going back, make sure I get this right. Here we're not. I'm taking a look at it, making sure that it's giving me that it's convincing me of what I want it to look like. And I'll just go back and back and continue to work on it. And yeah, continue to yeah. And that line right there that I just put, that's the line that I'm talking about. That line I think helps sell that part a little bit better. Um, and yeah, because there's Yeah, I just think that they helped execute it a lot better. I could be mistaken. If you disagree, then please comment and explain why. Yeah, but I think that looks a whole lot better with that line there like that. And yeah, so I think it's pretty good. Get that line there for the bottom of the palm, and I think it'll be good to go. Yeah. See, for example, how I continue to turn the page, trying to get that stroke just right. I wouldn't. The way have the page set up right now, I would not try to make that stroke in a diagonal motion. I'd rather just turn it and then from the side to side swing the pencil, which is much easier for me. So a more graceful stroke, pencil stroke than if I were to try to force it in a diagonal motion. That's just, I guess, that's just me. Or but if you can execute it, in a diagonal motion, then great, awesome. Yeah, here I'm defining this arm. I sketched most of this body out during the test run, a little bit before the test run that I did earlier, and just trying to make sure I get the perspective right for this. Um, I got it to where I like it, but I don't know if it's 100% on point. If there's something that you think could be better done in that case, then yeah, please share with us the knowledge. And yeah, so here I'm defining these lines a whole lot clearer, better, so I can ink over this. And yeah, once I get to the inking stage, you'll be able to see how it is that I approach my inks, um, and I'll be able to explain a little bit better my thought process behind that. Because, for example, here, uh, you don't see me pencil in any of the rendering that I'm going to do on this. Um, I do the rendering when I start inking. So what I'm laying down right now is just the actual lines, like the actual physical hard lines that you're going to see on the page, and but not any shadows, not any rendering, any feathering, nothing of that sort. I'll do that. All those things I'll do that during the inking stage, and you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about when we get to that. And so here I'm trying to round out the shape of her body, and in the back area, trying to define these lines here. Make sure I get the curves just right. As we all know, women are they have the curves characterized the women a lot in the drawings, and there's a certain there's a lot of grace and elegance to drawing female figures, and it's something that I have to continue working on. But yeah, I try to capture that as best as I can, and and yeah, so as I always say, it's always good to have references. And here, for example, I'm going to show you where I put my references. I have these things, like for example, Iron Man's armor, the lighting on the previous image of Thor, and yeah, here, for example, I have my reference for this Spider-Gwen. This is a picture that I saw a while back, and I saved it. And this is Spider-Gwen here, and this is the reference that I'm using for this picture. And you can see here her body, and this is the style that I'm looking for. That I'm going to try to emulate, and hopefully I'll be able to pull it off. And yeah, so references are always great. I use Pinterest a lot save images of things that I see. It could be the body. It could be anything. Anything that can help me, I save it. And here, for example, I'm going over her rib cage just for the sake of making sure that I have the figure right. And I place the boobs in the best place, in the best way possible. I know that gravity pulls on them, and they have to have a certain drag, I guess you could call it. I'm not sure what you would call that. Sorry if I'm offending anybody, but there's a certain way that they should curve, and so I'm trying to capture that in a little bit, I guess, and trying to smooth it out. Yeah. Turning the page, making sure I'm able to get those curves just right, the way I like it. And yeah, I use Pinterest, as I was saying. I use Pinterest a lot to save any reference, anything that I see. I'm always looking through them through Pinterest. If I have any questions about anatomy, recently it's been a lot about anatomy, so I wanted to make sure that I know how the muscles work, and and how many other parts of the body work from people, and so I'm making sure that I get that just right, and I save all references on Pinterest. I have a stack of images that I saved, and I always look back at them. Yeah, I think that's pretty good right there. I also have to take into account that she's raising that left arm. Also, that's always going to pull on that a little bit, I guess. At least that's what I'm trying to accomplish. Hopefully, I do that. Yeah. And doing things, for example, like the rib cage, any other muscles and things like that, it's just to help me get the figure right. It doesn't mean that I'm going to ink those things. Just to help me set up the base drawing, the under drawing, and make sure that it's right. And then, as you can see, like that line that marks the rib cage is not in dark. It's not in a darker pencil. It's lighter. It's just to help me get an idea of where the placement would be on her boob and where the back goes into her thighs in that area. Here, for example, I'm looking at how the hood blends into the rest of the costume. It doesn't work exactly like a hood on a hoodie. It has it blends into the suit. And here we can see now how I'm trying to work with that. Yeah. Defining the lines. Yeah. Yeah, everything that I have placed here, I'm more than willing to erase any and all of it if it's interfering with the line that I'm working on. So I mean, if I have to erase that eye, no problem. I'll go back over it later. I mean, it's not set in stone, but I have a good idea of where I want each of these lines to go. So I mean, I can erase one and go back over it again. And here, for example, I'm working on that hood, make sure it's right. Here, the shape of the head, I have to make sure that the bottom part, is a little bit sharper, a little bit more narrow than the male's head. And I try to give it that feminine touch to it to make sure that um, we don't see or we don't think that it's a guy under that mask, but rather a girl. So you have to make that bottom part thinner. Yeah. Yeah, something happened with the paper there. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's from the metal of the eraser or the metal part on my mechanical pencil, but there was like some weird thing happening with the paper there. I don't know, but I got rid of it, so we're good to go. Yeah, here I'm just defining the lines again a little bit more, going back over these areas, making sure I get this shape right, and then I start working the hood, making sure I get it right. In this case, for example, I'm trying to get the hood to come out a little bit, towards the left here, so we can see that. No, because it goes over her head, so I want to make sure that I get that part in it. There's also a certain part, a certain aesthetic, aesthetic benefit, beauty to it, to put it out a little bit more like that. And so I want to make sure I get it right there, so it can look more pleasing. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. More pleasing than if I were to have it back a little bit more. That goes to the bottom part of the cheek. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of making sure that despite the fact that they have a mask on, you should be able to notice some of the features of the face. Like in case of Spider-Man's mask, you should be able to tell like where the sockets are, where the cheekbones are, and how he goes down into his chin. I've seen other iterations of Spider-Man where it's just like a line as if it were like some kind of helmet. I mean, it's um, to each their own, I guess you can say. No, but I'm a fan of making it seem as if it's actually on a person's face. So so here, for example, with Spider-Gwen, I'm trying to make sure that the mask is tight against her head. And here I'm, yeah, cleaning out all these unnecessary lines, all these I think inkers call these ghost lines, or I don't know if you would qualify for that, but these lines that I sketched out earlier that I'm not going to ink over, and I want to make sure I get rid of those because I've had cases before in the past where I've left them there, and so like I look at it and I see like, yeah, I know where that line goes, but then when it comes to inking, my line starts in one direction, gets caught up in those ghost lines, and then ends up in another direction, and then it gives me this look that I had not intended at all, and that's just something that I noticed about myself. So so now when I ink, I want to make sure that I have the exact line that I need. So I erase anything that could possibly distract me when it comes time to inking the lines. And so I try to get rid of as many unnecessary lines as possible once I have the line that I want in place. And so yeah, so here I'm looking at the references for how the mask is. Um, because when I initially sketched this out, I had the eyes a certain way, but as you can see here, the eyes are drawn differently. They have a little dent right here, and then it goes up and then curves back down. And so I'm going to try to emulate that. I'll emulate that aspect. Because the way I drew it first is just like Spider-Man's normalized, but in this case, that's not how it goes for her. So I'm going to try to draw the eye as I see it in that reference. And yeah, I pay close attention to those small details because those small details pay off big. I think when the image is actually drawn and finished. Um, just for me, I mean, because I know some people don't really care or mind about those small details, but I like noticing those things. Like for example, if I were to draw Venom's eyes or Carnage's eyes, they would be a whole lot different from Spider-Man. So I want to make sure that I have that, and yeah, I have to keep going back because I put the dent too big, I guess you can say. It's marked too well, so I have to go back and make it a little bit more subtle. And yeah, here I'm smoothing that out. And yeah, there's something really interesting that I thought about Marvel and their design of Spider-Man is how there's Spider-Man, Venom, Carnage, uh, some of these other symbiotes, Lasher, Scream, and the element is the same. Like it's this big white wide eye, across the face, but they're able to like put little indentures here and there, and then keep those consistent with the characters, so that you know that these eyes belong to that character. You know, like which I thought was really unique. And so here I have to look back at the reference, because now what I'm trying to do is trying to draw the rest of these areas. Oh yeah, here for example, we can look back just to confirm that the eyes are okay. And now I have to continue with the arm. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm continuing with the with this part here. And so here I feel a lot comfortable, because I have the hands done and the face done, which is the primary part. And then the rest of this is just making sure that I have the rest of this body. The body is a whole lot easier for me to draw than faces and hands. Um, eh, there's a little bit more leeway, I guess you can say, with drawing the body, because you know it's universal. Like everybody mostly has the same kind of body, especially superheroes. So the muscles and things are pretty much the same. So I feel a lot more comfortable drawing bodies than I do faces and hands. And so here I'm just going over these curves. Make sure I get this just right. Erasing all these unnecessary lines that I'm gonna either get the paper messy, or just take my lines in a completely different direction. So so yeah, so this line, for example, this has to be a long, smooth line. So I'd like to do this with the pencil stroke that I'm comfortable with. So I'll do this, and I'll also erase just to make sure I get it right. You're going to see later on when I ink this that I'm not going to ink this freehand, because I've tried doing that before and completely destroyed the line. So I like how that looks, and I want to keep that consistent with the inks also. So I'm pretty sure I'm not going to ink that freehandedly. You'll see it when I ink this. And here, for example, I have the leg, and I'm marking off the knee, and so here I'm going to draw this line. Wait, this should be below the knee, but I'm going to draw this line to show me where the other leg should finish. And so I marked it right here where you can see it, and I'm going to do this a little bit darker. Tighten this up here. And this knee should end where I have it marked on here on this left side. I don't want it to go too far out, because then the leg will look longer than the other. And I don't want it to go too far in, because it'll look shorter than the other. So I have to make sure that it's aligned to a certain extent. So yeah, these are just elements of the suit that I'm trying to try to place in there, just to help me make sure that I have the anatomy right, make sure I have the legs right. And yeah, here's about as wide as the other leg should be, I think. Then I'm erasing unnecessary lines here. And then and yeah, so here we see this line that I'm making sure that I have it right. And this other line. Then here is where the knee should stop. So I erase these unnecessary lines here. And then work the knee. So I know it should be around here somewhere. So I'll start doing the knee. That's where the muscle ends, and then it curves into the knee. I have to get rid of that line there too. Make sure it curves just right. There's the kneecap. And then draw straight through this. because I want it to be consistent on one end and on the other. I don't want to guess where this would be. I'd rather have the straight line go forward, and then the that's the shin there. Then the calf should go there, and now I want to make sure that this shin has the same length as this one. Now I can eyeball it if I like, but in this case, just for fun, I'm gonna use my eraser here. So I'm gonna measure it out, one entire eraser. Then here, there's like I think it finishes on the letter E. So I take the same distance and I measure it out like that. I could be wrong, but that's how I mean. I'm pretty sure I'm wrong with that, but that's how I measure. Make sure that the length on one is the same as the length on the other. I noticed that there was a slight difference from one leg to the other, so I have to modify one of those. And I like how the leg that's stretched out. I like how that looks, so I'm going to keep that. So I'm deciding to change the small leg. And for this, for example, I'm just going to move the line over, and I just draw it again right next to it. As you can see here, it's the same lines, but just a slightly positioned in a different area. Then I erase the lines that I don't need, and that's how I move something. And then I don't have to actually erase everything. I just draw it again where I need it, and then erase the other lines that I don't. And yeah, so that's how I would see. That's how I think the leg would go. And this is a lot more accurate to how the length of the other leg is. And if you're curious as to how I'm able to draw that almost from memory, this is something that I've practiced over and over again on other drawings. I've done this on a Wonder Woman piece, on two Wonder Woman pieces, I think, and also on a Spider-Gwen drawing that I've done before. And this is just information that I've collected from studying other artists. And right now, I'm looking through my phone and trying to find the exact images that I use to reference what I'm drawing. Just so you can see that I don't just invent everything, that some of these things are from an actual source. And you'll be able to see. In this case, when it comes to women, I'm a big fan of J. Scott Campbell. I like how he draws women. He gives a certain grace and elegance to women. And there's also a certain sexuality that he gives to women also, which is yeah, it's great. It sells. No, but I like the elegance that he gives. And yeah, so I look through his stuff all the time. And so for this part here, I'm showing you this. Yeah, that's my man Jay Scott. He draws really good. Shout out to him if you seen this. I doubt it, but anyways, yeah. So yeah. See, here's that leg. You see how he's got that drawn out and sketched out. I like how he did that. And I saw this piece a while back, and I was like, yeah, that's nice. And so here's me trying to copy what I see, to the shape of the leg and how the leg bends in this case, which is something unique with women. They tend to do this. It's a little bit. It gives more grace and elegance, in my opinion, and I like how he did that. So I'm trying to copy the shapes here, and you can see now how I'm trying to emulate how he does that. And yeah, here for example, this part of the foot is not as indented as the other one because this is the outside of this left foot, whereas in the other part it's the inside of the right. And here, for example, we can see the things I like to study, like hair, hair, how he does his rendering. Yeah, I'm a big fan of looking and skimming through all his stuff because he's really good. So my big influence is to take from Jay Scott as much as I can, and yeah, I think it works, and it works really well with this piece here. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Jay Scott and a lot of great artists out there. They do really good work. Especially drawing women is so difficult, and I try my best to try to make sure that I get the anatomy just right, that I get the proportions just right. Um, yeah, this the drawing women is there's a certain level of difficulty with that, and I try my best to get as close as I can, as accurate as I can when I draw women. And uh, and yeah, here we're going to see, for example, another image that really helped me out a lot. was during this for this pick. He was able to do this image here, and this helped out a lot, a lot. So I was able to see exactly how he does his underdrawing, and for example, how the rib cage goes, and how it goes down into the stomach, how the rib cages are here. And so that's where I'm drawing right here, and yeah, you can see, for example, the proportions there, and that helps me out a lot. Now, when artists take the time to do that kind of thing, it helps out a lot, and and this is how I see these things, and then I'm able to apply these things to my own art, and I think it comes out nice. No, I think it comes out pretty good, and I'm happy with the results. Like, for example, this figure looks nice, so I'm happy with how I did that. And here, for example, I'm making sure that I get the knee right, so I'm able to just accent this muscle here, draw this kneecap here like this, erase these unnecessary lines or lines that I'm not planning on inking. So just make sure that I get this clear. That could be the lower half of the muscle there. Then we go back down to the calf. I'm marking right there the bottom part of the knee where the knee ends. And then here we get into the shin. Making sure I'm defining that line just right. And then getting rid of all these unnecessary lines. All of these lines are unnecessary. I don't need any of that. I'm not going to ink any of that stuff. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do any rendering on that. I'm obviously going to ink that, but not any rendering, not any major rendering. So I'm going to get rid of all these ghost lines that are not going to help. And get rid of this line here also. Again, those lines just are placed there so they can help me see how the figure moves, where I want these lines to go. But then once I have an idea of how I want these lines to be drawn, I get rid of them and I just sharpen these other lines out. Like here on the calf muscle, for example. And here on the ball of her foot. Then the rest of the foot. And yeah. And this comes from drawing this particular part, or from drawing all of this over and over and over again, and just developing an internal repertoire of tips and tricks that you can use when you draw these things, and just learning and almost memorizing how these parts go to the body. And all of this comes with practice, a lot of practice. And yeah, so I'm just fine tuning here. Yep. I have it to where I like it, and I think it looks good. Now here we have the figure. We're almost done. And now the last thing that I have to do is finish up this arm here. And then the arm goes into the hand. And the hand in this case that I'm drawing is a fist. So I want to make sure I get this forearm right. Get rid of all these unnecessary lines. Trying to tighten these pencils up for when it comes time to inking. So yeah, that curve I put at the very bottom of the forearm is just to indicate me where the forearm ends and where the hand should begin. In this case, I have a fist, so I know that my starting point for the fist is right there where I drew the end of the arm. And so that's just to give me an indicator of where I should draw. So I know that in this area is where the fist should be. And yeah, so trying to draw a little bit of the fist so I have an idea where it should be. And yeah, I hopefully no one thinks that I'm trying to hide the hand here, so I avoid drawing it. I don't avoid drawing anything. I think if you've seen my artwork before, you notice that I don't shy away from drawing the difficult things. Try my best to try to draw the difficult things. And yeah, so here's just the hand. I placed it here because I think it looked cool. And And yeah, so here I have the fist, and I'm just gonna draw where the continue drawing the rest of this shin here, and so you can see where the shin is at, where the fist is at, and then now it's time to draw the webs. When I was thinking about doing the web area, I could do something very simple and elegant and just cut it off here and just draw something simple. But no, I'm a '90s kid, so I mean the webbing that I've seen that I grew up with is the Atomic Fallen webbing and the crazy webs and the Mark Bagley Spider-Man with his crazy webs. So I'm gonna draw that, and I'm gonna put these two big circles here where I'm gonna put the webs. I'm gonna put the rest of the web there. And here, for example, what I'm doing is just placing them where I would like for them to go. But then I'm going to define this and draw this better when I start inking. And then here I'm going to put the tail end of this web. And since I got so much space here, I can practically do as much as anything I want with it. So I don't know. I guess I'll just leave it here because I don't know. It just feels bad. Feels natural. I guess. Let's just cut it off right there. And so I just want to make sure I know exactly where these lines are going, where the webbing is going to go. And yeah, so just make sure I have that marked off really good. Yep. Yeah, if your webbing is not everywhere like it is right here, then you're doing webbing wrong, man. Yeah, so here that's the tail of the web. That's where it ends. And so yeah, I'm getting this part done right. Make sure I get it right. And yeah, speaking of webs, I want to put a web here too, I guess. I'm just shooting the web out. Want to make sure that it follows that line, so I'll just draw this here. And since she's shooting out a web, I think I'll let this animated Gwen spit some web out too. So I'll put some webbing over here too. I don't want it to cross the figure completely, so I'll just put a little bit of web here, and I'll put a little bit of web over here. So they're both swinging and going for the next web swing. Huh? So yeah, that's pretty much the figure. Now I have to go back and add the details to the suit, and so for that I have to use the reference because I don't know her suit by heart. So we'll go back to Pinterest, take a look at this picture here, and then we have to apply these elements to her suit. Now, when you're doing the elements to the suit, if you've done your underdrawing first, and if you've done it to where you like it, then adding the rest of these elements to the suit is going to be super easy. It's just a matter of knowing exactly where you want to place it. I mean, because the elements are there, and you know where it's at, and you have your reference, so placing it is a lot easier. And so here I know I got this black area here, and it goes like this. I can cut it like that here and just leave it off, but like now I want to show a little bit of that black right there, so I have to erase and then go back. A little bit of that black there, just like in the reference. And I'll do that part to her costume, which is great because this is going to be in all black later on, or a majority of it's going to be in black. But there's that other part right there near her, on her back. And yeah, just making sure I put that there. Now here, for example, we can see that in that pink area on her back, there's a teal color webbing. And yeah, so I'm not gonna draw that, simply because I know that this is going to get colored. Now I know beforehand that it's going to get colored, so I know that when I do the coloring, I can add the webs later. So what I'm gonna do here is just mark off where this element of her costume starts and finishes, and just have it marked. And so we have it right there on that arm. And now I have to do the same on this arm. And then the same over here. Make sure it also follows in line a little bit to where that muscle should be. Not too much because I don't want that line to define her muscle, but just enough, so it goes where it needs to go. So then I forgot to add this part over the eye, and then that other part to the eye. Now this, on the contrary, is not inked on the reference pick, but I'm going to ink it just because I can. And yeah, see, I'm just marking off where the webbing is going to go. I'm not going to draw it, but I'll just leave it like that so I have an idea. But yeah, then that's pretty much it. I don't think there's much more. Ah, no, I'm sorry. The bottom part here, I gotta do her ballet shoes. Her ballet shoes. And the ballet shoes. There's a particular design that I see here in this reference pic that I don't like too much. It's like very high tech, cyberpunkish, I guess you could say. I don't like it too much. I mean, I was exposed to the Spider-Gwen from Into the Spider-Verse, so I like that a lot. I like how they did that in that movie, so I'm gonna try to use that element of it, or try to find the image that has that style. Yeah, like right here, for example, you can see how she has that ballet slipper there. So I'm trying to do that for this. I'm trying to my best to do ballet shoes here. Yeah, I'm actually right here, right now. I'm looking for more references on the fly, and yeah, looking for references is another part of that takes a while because you just have to find the right reference. And but yeah, at least I have a reference enough to where I know kind of sort of where that ballet should go, that ballet slipper should go. Now, because it's a ballet slipper, it's also going to change the way that the foot is going to be drawn. It's not going to be 100% a point at the end because they're not boots. So I have to change that up a little bit to make sure it resembles a ballet slipper. Or ballerina slipper. I don't know what the proper term for that is. But yes, I'll put that there. I don't like how I did this line here, so I'm going to erase this. Go back over that like that. And yeah, I've done this. Oh yeah, here's the other part. I have to do this other part too on this other foot. And I've done the ballet slipper thing before on another Spider-Gwen piece I did. So I mean, this is not 100% new to me. I have an idea of how I want this, but just in case, I'd rather have a reference to be sure. Taking a look where that part goes here. All right, it's here. Got another one around the ankle, I think. Yeah, get that same part here also. So it could be consistent on both feet. Taking a look. Yeah, that's another reference right there. It's not 100% what I'm looking for, but I guess it gives me an idea. Okay, I think I found a better picture. Let's take a look here. Yeah, this is it. That's a good reference right there. Yeah, see. Always want to make sure you find just the right reference to help you get through the day. And so now I have to do that on the drawing here. So I'll mark it off on the ankle right there. Then I have to connect those two. So I'll draw this line here. Another line there. I'm cutting through the other lines because they overlap. So I have to make sure it overlaps on both ends. Make sure I get that just nice and well defined. And yeah. And goes the lace over the heel. and then connect them both. See, I'm drawing over that line because the lace overlaps on the other parts also, so I'm erase certain parts here. And I have to erase another area here also. Yeah, I have to erase that line. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for the character. So let's see what we have. Here we have the two Spider-Gwens from top to bottom. And this is what I'm going to ink. And yeah, actually when I start inking this, I'm going to begin with the webs. I'm going to ink the web first. Ink this webbing here, and then ink the other webs. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for being patient with me, and I'll catch you in the next video where we start the inks. Take care.